Fingers crossed, guys. What's the point in doing mapping when it's only on 3 cylinders anyway? Make sure it hopefully doesn't go pop, 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 pop at the bottom. Suzuki Gsx-R 1000R, we are going to do full ECU mapping, ditch the headers, change them over, possibly filter, see what it is that's in there, and then see what we can get out of it. These are pretty good. They normally start about 170, mid 170s, and they finish about 190, so it's a huge gain on these. So let's see if we can get that kind of gain today on this one. In need of oil, which is ironic because it's got a Scott oiler on there, but Scott oilers suck. Sorry, Scott oiler. So what we're doing now is prepping. Get it all blown apart. Hi. Get it all blown apart so I can get cap repair valve, which is a fresh air injection system which bleeds air from the airbox straight to the exhaust port. So it's got nothing to do with combustion, but it'll dilute the gases down and I can't see them. So cap that, get an RPM signal from the ECU, which is here. So I actually have to take the seat off, the whole back end off, lift the tank up. Then on top of that, I've got to do oil, chain, tyre. Chain looks a little bit dry, so I'll give that a good lube, and I think the tension's okay, but I'll just check it in a couple of places anyway, make sure that's not going to snap on the dyno, because that would not be a good day. Do all that, check it all over, warm it all up, then we let it heat soak for like 15 minutes. So we warm it all up, go through the gears, make sure everything's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, there's no rattles, bangs, and cha-cha-chas. Then we will leave it for a couple of minutes, let everything come to the exact same temperature. It's called heat soaking. It's basically so that we don't have cold and hot, and that causes fractures and increases the risk of any problems. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, do all the data stuff so that everything's logged up there, then big power runs. That'll be our base settings for the current situation that we've got, which is, it's pretty stock apart from the can. So that'll be our base, and then from there we can compare against that once we do the mapping and the exhaust and the air filter and all the other good stuff that makes it go, whoa, power baby. So that's what we're doing now. Let's do it. Little tip, whenever you're doing any of these dome head bolts, these Allen bolts, always try and use the square end ones. Don't use the ball ends, because the problem with the ball ends, they don't get as much surface area and they're more likely to round, especially on the tank bolt. So try and use a socket attachment piece, then it'll save you down the line of having a pain. So the ECU is right here. Not that hard to get to, but you do have to take quite a few bits and bobs off. So these side panels have to come off, then the seat can come up, which I haven't unbolted that bit there, so it won't come up just yet. Then once that's off, then there's 2 bolts here. There's like 6 quick releases underneath, which you can just look like that. All of them, 2 bolts at the back, 2 bolts at the front, and then the whole pod will come off. Once you have the pod off, it's just there. I think there's 2 screws with the starter relay on as well. You can pull the relay out of the way, unplug it, move that out of the way, and then the little plastic cover that sits across the top of it is just on a screw, and then it lifts up, and then it folds underneath the subframe. Pull that out of the way, then you've got full access to the ECU, and you can pull it out, send it to us, and we can make it amazing. So many things. The original owner was complaining that the brakes weren't amazing, so he's fitted hell brake lines to it, which is these hard pipes. I'd say if you want to maintain the ABS, yeah, but on these, your better option is actually upgrading the master cylinder, not the braided line, sorry Hal, because yes, okay, they've got rubber hoses and the rubber gives a little bit, but the master cylinder is like its biggest failing on these. Upgrade that master cylinder to get so much better braking. Step up from that would be to ditch the ABS completely, but I mean, on the road, it's not a bad thing having ABS. They're smart enough, they're powerful enough to do what you want them to do. But as I say, I like the fact that they're still dead simple. They're not like stupidly complicated in comparison to some of the others. But it's still got all of those features as well. Like it's got yaw sensors, it's got all the fancy bits, but it's actually really simple to work on. But I like the old 750s, because the 750s are just a nice all round, because you've got 130 odd brake, but it's nice and light. So like for most if you were using it as a track bike, they're amazing. Because you've got tons of power, or enough power for most tracks, and even Euro tracks. But they're just super flickable, they're not scary. And what's nice about the Suzukis across all of them, all of the Gsxrs, is you just kind of ride in them rather than on top of them. like your ZX-10R ones, your BMs and stuff, you're quite high up on the seat. So it puts you in a really aggressive riding position, whereas these don't. You kind of sit in them more, which makes them easier to ride faster. So we've just connected up our signal, so that's our RPM signal, but that's actually the coil #1 signal line. So that's that. That is the pipe that runs down to the pair system, so we've capped that so we're not getting any dilution of any of the gases. We've got the probes in the exhaust, making sure they don't hit the actual exhaust control valve, because that would be a problem. And now I've just got to do the bike checks, make sure that the thing's not going to go bang. And then we're ready to run. Best mod that you can do to one of these is probably the mapping. Mapping, headers, air filter, that's going to get you the best performance, and the nicest ride is going to perform really well because it just makes them really smooth, really responsive, way more power. As I say, these gain like 20 brake from mapping and exhaust and stuff, so they gain huge numbers from it. So it's well worth doing that. Other stuff, I mean, suspension setup's always a nice thing because it just means the bike handles a bit better. From braking side of stuff is obviously do that master cylinder change, because that makes a huge difference and gives you way more feel. So we will do what we're going to do anyway, because irrelevant to the fact that it's got a misfire, we're still going to do what we're going to do. But at the same time, I'm going to pull the airbox, pull the plugs, and just to double check the plugs, just make sure that they're okay. These don't normally have an issue, so there's no easy, obvious thing, but plugs are always a potential. So we will just pull them, check them, see what they look like. If they look like they've been in there since the Stone Age, well, then we'll probably replace them, because what's the point in doing mapping when it's only on 3 cylinders anyway? So we'll check all that, sort all that out at the same time, and hopefully that will remedy itself, basically. Fingers crossed, we'll see. Stay tuned, you'll see in a minute. All right, blow it apart. Well, we're going to do a power run now, so we're going to let it heat soak for a second, and then we're going to do a power run anyway, because everything it's doing is not detrimental to the performance of it in it running. It's got the oil's fine, the chain's fine, we've put a load of lube on that, tyre pressure's fine, so all of that stuff's good. I'm not worried about the engine health and the bike itself. It's just, obviously, it's not super duper happy right now, but we'll give it a run anyway as a base, and then we will take it off, blow it all apart, and then hopefully rectify the faults just doing that. Let's do it. There it is. So we've done the run. It's low on power. It's got 166 brake horsepower, which is pretty naff. That basically is the blue run. So the blue run's max power, and then I'm just rolling. So this green run is me rolling to see what the fueling's like. The target is pretty much that 13, around that 13:1. It's super lean, just standard. It rattles a lot and it's misfiring. So the misfire I'm putting down to potentially the plugs. I was going to be cheeky and blame the Scott oiler, but because what happens with a lot of the Scott oilers, the non-electronic ones, is they're vacuum operated, so they have a pipe that runs to a manifold, and then it runs that vacuum to control that. This isn't that, so sorry, Scott oiler, it's not your fault. This is electronically controlled, so it's got nothing to do with it. Gives you an indication of how dirty it is. all manner of beasts. So that's grubby, so that all gets scrubbed and rubbed and cleaned and polished as well. Because if I take it off, I'm going to clean it. I mean, sparkly, look, ooh, sparkly. So that's that, and then this is it's got a K and N in it. I don't know if you can see in there, but look at all of that. That is minging. The filter itself isn't too bad, but it's really grey, which means it's not got much oil on, which is also not a good thing because they've got to be oiled. I mean, if it's not oiled, lots of fine particles will get through this, which is obviously not going to do your engine any good. So that needs washing several thousand times and then oiling, and then that can go back on. Bodywork's all blown off, stripped everything down at the minute. We're going to pull this off here and throw it on the bench, get the exhaust off completely, and then go from there. Then it's basically start building it all back up again. We'll put new plugs in it, do the oil change, do the exhaust fit, flash the ECU, and then get the airbox all cleaned and back on. And then we're ready to start the actual mapping process and see what kind of big numbers we can get, because a 166 start is pretty pants. This should be in the 170s. Even on that tyre, in the condition that this is in, it should be in the 170s. That is really low. It's about 10 brake away from where it needs to be. That's possibly down to condition of stuff. That air filter is not going to be doing it any good. It's like trying to sprint with a mask on. It's not going to be great. So there's a few things that could be causing it to be a bit low, but we're going to try and eradicate all them and then make some power. Bike's on the bench now, so we've actually done the oil already. Just needs topping up, but the oil and filter's all done. Crack this off, pull that pipe off. I'm going to take that pipe right away. Unleash all of the pipes on the other side as well. Get the horn off and disconnect the fans, and then that can be pulled completely away. Then we've got full access then to the headers. It's all about making it as easy as possible because these can be a little bit of a pain. We've also sprayed these already with just penetrating spray, just to make life easier again. Then once this is all out, we can give it a good clean, get new gaskets in there, and then stick the new ones on. Sparkling fresh now, it's had a bath, several baths, it was minging. So now we're just going to give it a quick oil, which this is K&N oil, it's just in a KRX bottle because they don't give you applicators anymore. So with these, all you're doing, little bead of oil on top of each pleat, all the way around. You would do both sides, but you can't obviously for this because you just can't get in there. So just oil all the way around and then that can go in. Exhaust on, radiator's on, we've got coolant in it, it's had an oil change. Airbox is nice and shiny now. It's got new plugs fitted as well. We've given this a little bit of a clean because, well, I can't leave it minging because it makes me sad. So that's all out of clean. This is all out of clean. We've got to stick this back in there, connect everything up, and make sure it hopefully doesn't go pop, 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 pop at the bottom, which is our biggest concern with this at the minute. Is not necessarily overall performance or whatever. It's just making sure we get rid of that stutter and that misfire at the bottom. So we'll do that now. Got to run it all up and then check everything over. I've still got to flash the ECU, so obviously I'll get that done next. Give it a quick run through, go through the gears, make sure everything's okay. Then check everything over, because if you're fitting in an exhaust system, obviously when it gets hot it expands a little bit, then when it cools down and contracts, it will automatically loosen itself off a bit, so then you just need to check tighten everything. So we've got to do that once we've done a set of runs. Then once we've done that, then it's jumping into mapping, and hopefully we should see the power that we're expecting, and we don't have that misfire anymore, because that would be naughty and we won't be happy. So that's what we've got to do. Bad motorcycle. Gixxer's now on the dyno again. We've got the exhaust system all fitted, all been wiped down, so we're not going to get any fingerprint marks, and wow, does it look good. It's going to be Pretty loud though, but it's not all down to us, we don't care. We like noisy things, but yeah, fast, loud pipes save lives. Air filter's all back in, airbox is all nice and shiny and clean. Oil's done, water's all been done, because obviously when we've done the exhaust, we've obviously had to take the radiator off, so water's all been topped up, but we're gonna give it a quick run up, prep it all, run it all, and then we're gonna basically just check everything over. So as I said before, the exhaust, as it gets hot, it'll expand, and then when it cools down a little bit, it's gonna slightly slacken a few of the nuts and bolts and stuff off, so we'll just double check everything. Same for the oil, same for the water. So we'll just make sure that everything's good. And then we'll go into the runs. Now, we're also hoping that the little rattles and misfire and stuff we've also solved while we've been doing the plugs and the air filter and the exhaust. We're hoping all that's gone. But if that's not gone, then we'll have to delve into that a little bit as well. So fingers crossed, guys. Let's get it all prepped and we will see where we are. Building through the map now, so this is the actual throttle table. So we're going through all of the different values of throttle position and we're trying to pull the revs all the way through. That gives us the data then to be able to make the adjustments. Moving on to the intake air pressure map, which we roll through. Now let's get through to making some changes. So we basically build through that entire right-hand table that you can see on the right-hand screen. And we're changing the values, which is quantity values of the fueling, in relation to the graph that you can see on the left-hand side. So those wiggly lines, you can see that there's a big lumpy bit. That needs to be straight and flat, similar to the other runs. So we just make all of those edits, and then we send that to the ECU, and then we repeat the process to get it bang on the money. If you're liking any of our content and you're interested in more of the same, like and subscribe. It'll mean a massive deal to us and it'll keep us going doing more content. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the bottom as well and we'll try and answer them too. Thank you. Right, we are finished. Finished. Nearly. I've got to clear some faults. Let's ignore that. Right, we started at 166 and we're now at 173.4.
I'm going to cut to the part of you saying this is going to finish at 190.
190.
190.
So it's a huge gain on these. Didn't make 190. But it's this torque here that's going to be massive. So it's quite a big jump there. Also, our main target is obviously fueling. So the fueling's perfect. Before it was going quite rich. It was kind of a bit wayward all over the place. So that's pretty good. It is finished. All done. Now the power, fraction low. We've got a couple of reasons potentially for that. The tyre is quite soft. It's on the standard road tyre, but it is quite soft. We were basically losing like a brake horsepower per run, and that's purely down to the tyre getting softer and sticking to the drum. Also, the chain and sprockets is not in pristine condition. So we've adjusted it and we've lubed it up, but it's still got a couple of little tight spots in it and it's not perfect. So there's a few things that could potentially sap in a little bit of power, and it's still pretty warm. So we're there or thereabouts, but yeah, we're a bit away from my quoted figure, which we won't dwell on that. But overall, it's way better. So we had issues with a stutter and a misfire at the bottom. That's all gone from changing the plugs out. We had a rattle from the exhaust. That's all been resolved by changing the headers over. It's gained a ton of power, especially in that mid-range, which realistically, that's where he's going to need it, because he is actually riding this on the road. I don't think he's going to be doing any track days on it. So it's going to be much, much nicer. It's also way smoother now. It's had the mapping done. The air filter was absolutely hanging, so that's been washed properly. It's had a couple of baths, that thing. And that's all been put back on, and everything's serviced and clean and tidy underneath. So realistically, it's quite a big gain, even though the actual overall power gain is only like 7 brake. But it's way, way, way better. So all in all, we're super happy. On to the next one.